Hello everyone, I am Julian Morris with the Channel 5 News. In the headlines, Manufacturers Association applauds relief measures in the budget for the manufacturing sector. Builders and contractors expect a more level playing field with an amended Procurement Act. And the Attorney General condemns verbal attacks on the Judiciary. The details of the news coming up.
Avec Flow, and mettez on top up, sign up, quittez yo, every video join Flow. It only gets better with Flow.
Flow terms and conditions apply.
Are you still washing your hands regularly, wearing your mask in public, and practicing social distancing? 0 cases does not mean COVID-free. Stay home if you're not well to keep others from getting sick. Continue to avoid crowds in public spaces. Always keep your guard up. We're still fighting this together. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
Flow helps you stay connected to what matters. Simple plans and a better network mean that you can enjoy 7 days of unlimited social messaging, 3 gigabytes of reliable data to use as you like, 700 local anywhere calls and texts, with the always-on prepaid plan, all for $29. Keep your number when you switch to Dominica's most reliable LTE network. Buy wherever you top up. Switch to Flow. It only gets better.
First up in the news, the Dominica Manufacturers Association applauding a move by government to bring some relief to the manufacturing sector. Here's Andrea Louis with that story.
During the 2020-2021 National Budget presentation, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit announced that in order to improve the competitiveness of locally produced goods, government will remove VAT and import duty on packaging and labeling material. VAT and import duty will also be removed from machinery and equipment used in the production of goods effective 1 September 2020. Public Relations Officer of the Dominica Manufacturers Association, John Robin, says this move augurs very well for manufacturing in Dominica.
What it means for us is that at least 15% VAT is now removed, 15% input VAT is now removed, from the system, because what used to happen is that prior you had a situation where on arrival of goods at the port, manufacturers, agro-processors had to pay 15% VAT. Now usually you keep that product sometime up to 6 months and you're not using that product, but you have paid 15% of your cash revenue, so to speak, on that particular item. So now that it has been removed, we think it's going to allow manufacturers to have more cash flow, so they can invest in other critical sector.
In a move to improve agro-processing in the country, it was announced that agro-processing facilities will be constructed, which will benefit 177 farmers and 15 agro-processors.
I think that's a welcome idea in that some agro-processors, they don't have the resources to have their own facility. And what they're trying to do is to organize them into a cluster, and that would enable them to basically use one set of machinery, a number of persons within one facility, and all of them can come there and produce their product at a much more economic cost. So I think this is basically following other examples in other jurisdictions around the world, and I think that would definitely assist a lot of folks locally.
The DMA hopes that these initiatives are the first steps in a series of actions to benefit the manufacturing sector.
We anticipate down the road that raw material, especially some of the raw material, most of us import a lot of very expensive raw material, and also ingredients will be added. But for the time being, we are very grateful and we want to highly commend the government on this historic move, and we look forward to a significant boost in the manufacturing sector in Dominica. I think one of the things we would like to see down the road and is with respect to the fact that they have made provision, which is another very significant move. They have made provision for accessing resources at the aid bank at a much lower interest rate, even 1%. And what we would like to say is that we would like it to be followed up to ensure that companies who really needs it actually gain access to it, and not that it's only provided for but that it is actually being utilized to transform significant agro-processing concerns that are very involved in export and are doing very well for Dominica.
The Builders and Contractors Association of Dominica hoping to see a more level playing field with the amended Public Procurement Act. We go back to Andrea Louis for details on that.
In last week's budget presentation, Prime Minister Scarrett revealed that by September this year, government will present a new public procurement bill which will seek to modernize public procurement underpinned by principles of integrity, accountability, transparency, and attaining the best value for money. Once enacted, it will replace the Public Procurement and Contract Administration Act No. 11 of 2012. President of the Builders and Contractors Association of Dominica, Anthony LeBlanc, says the Act of 2012 already makes provision for local contractors, but the sector is not benefiting from that piece of legislation.
This pronouncement by the Prime Minister of a new or amended Procurement Act is nothing new. He did that in 2016. He was supposed to provide a draft by the 31st of July 2016 and go to Parliament by September or October of that year. That's a number of years, more than 4 years gone. So a promise is value only to a fool, and Dominica is not stupid. So the bottom line is, the Procurement Act currently in force can provide a transparent platform for local private sector to participate, for Dominicans to participate on an even playing field. We are not given this opportunity.
According to the Prime Minister, the new bill was drafted with assistance from the World Bank and European Union. However, Mr. LeBlanc does not see this making a difference to who benefits from the Act.
The European Union had a requirement for the Procurement Act to be passed in 2012 in order that it gave the government budget support. The Act was passed. BICAD wrote to the European Union on a number of cases that the Act was not being implemented. They did nothing. So if we think the World Bank is going to change it for us, or the European Union, we're fooling ourselves. We have to change Dominica for ourselves. It's our country, not the World Bank country, not the European Union country. In terms of what we'd like to see in the new Procurement Act, there's not much more than what exists now.
LeBlanc hopes there will be further discussion with the private sector on areas of the draft bill which can be tweaked. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
In other news now, Attorney General Levi Peter says verbal attacks on the judiciary, whether from inside or outside Parliament, must be condemned. The Attorney General says the courts are essential to the proper functioning of any society, even if their decisions may not always be popular.
What we are not entitled to do is to embark upon vitriolic and wholly unjustified attacks, verbal or otherwise, on the integrity and character of our judges. Judges, Mr. Speaker, are not permitted and or able to defend themselves against attacks. And it is totally inappropriate for any member of the society, of the community, to engage in those types of behaviors. And we as members of this House, I believe, Mr. Speaker, must condemn in no uncertain terms that type of behavior. Recently, Mr. Speaker, a particular individual who frequently espouses views, often vile views, engaged in a diatribe of vile garbage, including false reference to judges in the region being killed. And that individual, Mr. Speaker, appeared, certainly to me at least, to be advancing this falsehood as a justification for claiming that judges were not beyond a similar fate in this jurisdiction. As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Speaker, as I think what I've said so far makes clear, this type of behavior, this type of language, has no place whatsoever in a civilized society.
The AG warns that today's words could become tomorrow's deeds. While he refrained from naming names, he said some of these statements could rise to the level of contempt of court.
Mr. Speaker, I raised my concerns about that particular incident with appropriate authorities, and I expect that this and other matters of this kind will receive the appropriate attention that it deserves. It's not for me to dictate to the various individuals how they should deal with the matter, but I have made my concern very clear that I believe that that type of behavior is totally unacceptable in our society, and as far as I'm concerned, it crosses boundaries. In my view, probably criminal boundaries of incitement, perhaps other offenses, but certainly, in my view, it is also a contempt of court in the manner in which it was expressed.
Regarding Senator Danny Lugay's statement in Parliament last week regarding civil war, the AG says any repeat of such behavior should not go unpunished. And a push towards mainstreaming people with disabilities in Dominica. That's what the Prime Minister says his administration has tried to do in budget proposals like the Rosso Enhancement Project.
And whatever we do, we factor them into this. So when you speak about the Rosso Enhancement, we have taken into consideration people with disabilities. This is why we're covering the drains. The sidewalks will be one level. It won't be up and down. You know, is what I'm saying. And at education, we have a youngster from the Carnago territory who's at a state college, and people have access to education, which is important. These things were not prevalent back in the days. If you had a disability, you stayed home. You have people with disabilities at the workplace. I think it's a progression, a progressive move, and is an evolution. I think we need to move much faster on some things. And I believe that we're making progress and so on. And you're right, we have to mainstream. We have to mainstream the people with disabilities and ensure that it is accepted and understood. Whatever we do, they must be factored in. And the Minister, Dr. King, is very keen on this.
You are watching Channel 5 News. We'll have more after this.
Giving away $30,000 in cash, 2 bags of money plus a grand every Friday.
We're flowing better every day, and now we're making parties great. That's 3 ways that you can play. So listen up.
Top up.
$10 or more.
Sign up.
Just switch the flow.
Get a plan.
1 gig or more. If you wanna win cash galore.
We flow.
Win a bag of money.
Cash out.
Get a bag of money. What you gonna do with a bag of money? From Flow.
So top up, get a plan, or switch now to win. It only gets better with Flow.
Flow terms and conditions apply.
Are you still washing your hands regularly, wearing your mask in public, and practicing social distancing? 0 cases does not mean COVID-free. Stay home if you're not well to keep others from getting sick. Continue to avoid crowds in public spaces. Always keep your guard up. We're still fighting this together. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
A new in-home experience is here. All your services bundled into one simple plan. Faster, more reliable Wi-Fi so that you can binge, play, and stream uninterrupted. Unlimited Flow local landline minutes mean you can talk and talk and talk. Plus the best in TV entertainment with over 120 channels and 29 in HD. All for $160 a month with the new all-in bundle. With Flow, it only gets better.
Thank you for staying with us. An announcement by government to look into taxing unused land has been met with approval by a local economist. McCarthy Marie pointed out that the lack of property tax leads to the cost of land being extremely high, which poses a problem for those wishing to acquire or utilize the land.
Dominica is the only place in the world, I think, that up till now really has no property tax. One result of which is that the price of land tends to be way high, even much higher than the economic value of the land. Because the owner of the land, it costs him nothing to own it, so he just bought it, and he can't make a business out of it, so therefore he simply leaves it there, and his worth or his net worth is pretty high, although he has little income, and the country has little income from the land.
Marie believes the property tax will help stimulate better use of land for financial gain.
The government, I think, was a good thing to put in place a program to tax unused land. All land will not be taxed. It's supposedly unused land, with the idea of, I don't want to say force, but inducing the owners of these unused land to either put them to use to at least generate enough money to pay the tax, or sell it to somebody else who can make use of it, or lease it, or in some way, shape, or fashion to get it used. That's a good thing.
The World Health Organization reiterated the importance of breastfeeding, which has life-saving benefits for babies and mothers. The WHO is appealing to mothers with suspected or confirmed COVID-19 to continue to breastfeed like all other mothers.
Mothers should be counseled that the many benefits of breastfeeding for newborn babies and children substantially outweigh the potential risks for COVID-19 infection. Mother and infant should be helped to remain together while rooming in throughout the day and night, and to practice skin-to-skin contact, including kangaroo mother care, especially immediately after birth and during establishment of breastfeeding, whether they or their infants have suspected or confirmed COVID-19.
The World Health Organization is wrapping up the observance of Breastfeeding Awareness Week, which began on Monday. And efforts are being made by scientists to determine at what point the COVID-19 virus crossed over from animals to humans. The World Health Organization is working closely with China in a multi-phase process to get answers. This process takes scientists back to Wuhan province in China, where COVID-19 cases first surfaced.
The terms of reference document that has been agreed with the Chinese colleagues lays out both the previous work that has been done to understand the disease and also the studies that are going to be needed to further understand the original cases in Wuhan, to explore the epidemiologic links of those cases, and then to use that as a starting point to see what the animal origins of the disease would be. The Chinese counterparts have provided information on their initial investigations, for example, around the Wuhan seafood market and the testing that was done there. There are gaps in the epidemiologic landscape, and what is required is going to be a much more extensive retrospective epidemiologic study to look at those first cases and clusters in Wuhan and to fully understand the links between those cases, so that we can then determine at what point in Wuhan or elsewhere was the animal-human species barrier breached. Again, one must remember that there was a specific surveillance system in place in Wuhan for picking up clusters of atypical pneumonia. It was there for a very specific purpose, and the fact that that fire alarm was triggered doesn't necessarily mean that that is where the disease crossed from animals into humans. So the first, and the Director General has been very clear on this in the past, we must start where the human disease appeared to begin and then work from there. And a lot of the work was around the initial designs of those studies, what types of studies would need to be carried out, what kinds of data would need to be collected. In knowing that and in getting a better understanding of that, and remember, studies and a lot of surveillance has been done by Chinese colleagues, a lot of excellent scientific work has been done. But these specific retrospective studies require a very in-depth approach, a very detailed approach to understanding those first cases. On the basis of that understanding, we can then move on to phase 2 studies, which would allow us then to explore in a much more precise way potential animal sources for the disease.
Flow helps you stay connected to what matters. Simple plans and a better network mean that you can enjoy 7 days of unlimited social messaging, 3 gigabytes of reliable data to use as you like, 700 local anywhere calls and texts with the always-on prepaid plan, all for $29. Keep your number when you switch to Dominica's most reliable LTE network. Buy wherever you top up. Switch to Flow. It only gets better.
washing your hands regularly, wearing your mask in public, and practicing social distancing, 0 cases does not mean COVID-free. Stay home if you're not well to keep others from getting sick. Continue to avoid crowds in public spaces. Always keep your guard up. We're still fighting this together. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
With Flow, win a bag of money, cash out, get a bag of money. What you gonna do with a bag of money? Yeah. From Flow.
Yo, check this. Flow is giving away $30,000 in cash.
Oh, yeah.
2 bags of money plus $1,000 every Friday.
With Flow is better every day, and now we're making parties great. That's 3 ways that you can play. So listen up.
Top up.
$10 or more.
Sign up.
Just switch to Flow.
Get a plan.
1 gig or more. If you wanna win cash galore.
With Flow.
Win a bag of money.
Cash out.
Get a bag of money. What you gonna do with a bag of money? Yeah. From Flow.
So top up, get a plan, or switch now to win. It only gets better with Flow.
Flow terms and conditions apply.
A new in-home experience is here. All your services bundled into one simple plan. Faster, more reliable Wi-Fi so that you can binge, play, and stream uninterrupted. Unlimited Flow local landline minutes mean you can talk and talk and talk. Plus the best in TV entertainment with over 120 channels and 29 in HD. All for $160 a month with the new all-in bundle. With Flow, it only gets better.
To end the news, a look again at the headlines. Manufacturers Association applauds relief measures in the budget for that sector, the manufacturing sector. Builders and contractors expect a more level playing field with an amended Procurement Act, and the Attorney General condemns verbal attacks on the Judiciary. You may access the news on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the production team, I am Julian Morris. Thank you for watching. Have a good weekend.